What if I told you that a man with nothing, no home, no money, no family, turned his life around and became a millionaire? This is the story of how one simple decision can change everything. John sat on the cold pavement, his hands trembling from hunger. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. Around him, people walked by, avoiding his eyes. He wasn't angry at them, he understood. In their shoes, he would have done the same. But what they didn't know was that just a year ago, John had a job, a family, and a normal life. Everything changed when the company he worked for shut down. He couldn't pay his bills, and soon he lost his apartment. His savings disappeared faster than he thought they would. Before he knew it, John was on the streets. At first, he thought it would be temporary. He applied for jobs every day, using the public library to print his resume. But weeks turned into months, and no one called him back. Employers saw his address, or lack of one, and didn't trust him. Slowly, he stopped trying. He told himself, "This is just my life now." One cold night, as he sat outside a grocery store, a man stopped to give him a sandwich. John thanked him quietly and looked down, ashamed. But then the man did something unusual. He sat down next to John. "What's your name?" the man asked. John hesitated but replied. They talked for a few minutes, and before leaving, the man said something that stuck with John. "You're not stuck. You just need to find the right door to open." That night, John couldn't stop thinking about those words. Find the right door. What did it mean? He didn't have much to lose, so the next morning, he decided to try something new. He made a sign, but instead of asking for money, it said, "I need a job. I'll work hard." For hours, John stood on a busy street corner holding the sign. Most people passed without a glance, but then a woman stopped. She rolled down her car window and said, "Are you serious about working?" John nodded. She gave him a business card and said, "Come to this address tomorrow morning." The next day, John walked to the address. It was a small restaurant. The woman, who owned the place, hired him to wash dishes. It wasn't much, just a few hours a day, but it was a start. John worked hard, never complaining, and within weeks the owner noticed his dedication. She offered him more hours, and soon he was able to rent a tiny room. It wasn't much, but it felt like the first step back to a normal life. As John worked, he started saving every penny he could. He stopped by the library again, but this time he wasn't looking for jobs. He began reading books about business and success. He stumbled upon a book about starting small ventures and had an idea. Every day, John noticed how much food was thrown away at the restaurant, perfectly good food that no one wanted. He thought, what if I could collect this food and give it to people who need it? He pitched the idea to the restaurant owner, and she agreed to help. John started collecting leftover food from the restaurant and other nearby businesses and distributing it to homeless shelters. People started noticing his efforts. A local journalist wrote an article about him, calling him the man who gives back even when he has little. But John wasn't done. He realized that the problem wasn't just food, it was opportunity. Remembering his own struggles, he decided to help others like him find jobs. With the help of donations and volunteers, he started a small organization that connected homeless individuals with local businesses willing to give them a second chance. Over the next few years, John's organization grew. Companies trusted him because they saw how hardworking and honest he was. He began receiving grants and funding to expand his work. And along the way, John started his own business, focusing on waste reduction and community support. The same dedication that helped him climb out of homelessness made him a successful entrepreneur. Today, John is a millionaire. But if you asked him what he's most proud of, he wouldn't say his bank account. He'd say it's the thousands of lives he's been able to help. because John knows what it feels like to be invisible, to feel like you don't matter. And now he makes sure no one else feels that way. This is not just a story about money. It's a story about how one person can turn their life around with the right mindset and a little kindness. If John could do it, so can you. Sometimes all it takes is one small step and the courage to keep going.